Pakistani developers, are you tired of constantly switching jobs or working on boring websites and WordPress plugins? Do you want to leave a legacy, something that you are proud to contribute to? I have good news for you. Codecast Pakistan is sponsored by Shadow Labs, and Shadow Labs is currently hiring. Shadow Labs is an award-winning tech startup formed in 2010. Shadow Labs is on track to disrupt the global legal industry. The best part is that Shadow Labs has its roots in Pakistan. Shadow Labs is the next Pakistani success story. It's like joining Kareem before it was Kareem. Shadow Labs has strong development and operations teams based out of Pakistan, and we are currently looking for developers across Pakistan. So if you are an HTML developer, Laravel developer, or full stack developer, listen here. We are hiring across senior and mid-level roles. We also provide different hiring options, including full-time and flexible part-time roles. If you want to build something that you're proud of, this is the place for you. If you want to be part of Pakistan's next biggest tech company, this is the place for you. Click the link below and fill out the form. And join the legal technology revolution and contribute to Pakistan's next biggest tech startup. Leave your legacy. Welcome to an episode of Codecast Pakistan. Codecast Pakistan is on a mission to build a community in the Pakistani tech industry. Our mission is based on the philosophy that community is what leads to collective growth. If we work together, we can grow together. We have a very special guest today, a guest with a ton of impressive experience across the tech industry. Naeem Ur Rehman has worked at startups and multinationals and has worked in a variety of roles at some of the biggest companies in Pakistan. He spent time with Telenor, a telecommunications giant in Pakistan, and more recently, currently, he is a senior managing consultant at Systems Limited. Systems Limited is one of the biggest tech companies in Pakistan and considered one of the FANG companies out of Pakistan. Welcome to the podcast, Naeem.
Thank you so much.
So, exciting episode today. Just to give our viewers some context too about the gravity of your experience too. I was looking at an interesting fact. So, you worked previously at Telenor. So, Telenor is a telecom giant. But for our international viewers too, if when you think of telecom giants in the West, you think of a company like Verizon. Verizon is a major
Yeah,
player in the states, in a top I think two. Biggest telecom companies, but Verizon has a user base of probably about 140 million,
yeah,
whereas Telenor has about 180 million.
yeah,
Right, so Telenor is considerably larger than Verizon in terms of the user base that they're serving. So,
yeah,
so I thought that was an interesting fact to kind of highlight the type of work that is required in the Pakistani counterparts for some of these major industry giants.
yeah,
I'm gonna, I guess, to just segue back to first part of the conversation. What I wanted to do was get to like get we can get to know you a little bit more. So learn about your career. So can you run us through your journey? So you ended up at Telenor and Systems Limited ultimately, but what led you there? What was your career journey?
yeah. So, so thank you once again for providing me this opportunity to speak on the behalf of the tech community of Pakistan. Well, I have started my professional career right after my graduation back in 2005 as a software developer with a local startup. Unluckily, that journey was not too long. I worked there for 9 months, and then I have to switch to another job. The next job was basically a government job, and I spent good 7 years over there. I went through the professional growth ladder and become the team lead. And when I left, I was a development manager over there. Interestingly, I did my master's in software systems and engineering during my free time while I was part of the same job. um, my third employment was in a startup. Again, interestingly, a PhD doctor who was working as a senior scientist in Stanford Research Institute got connected with me and shared that he has raised a pre seed funding for the development of a product that involved extensive AI. So he told me that I should join his team as a technical project manager. I joined him, and we worked on the development of that product for good 2 years, and we were able to launch the version 1 of that product. Sadly, we were not able to sustain, as we had no sales arm to generate revenues, and that's why we have to close that product down. After that, I hopped to another startup as a development manager. This was basically a service based organization where resources were outsourced to customers around the European region. Here, I got the opportunity to directly work with the customers and got good hands on experience with that. Within 2 years, I believe, another mid sized organization offered me the same role. So I went there and got the opportunity to enhance my abilities to handle large teams. Like, I was able to handle a team of more than 30 people with one customer at the same time within that organization. So that also gave me, like, a good boost on handling how to handle the customer part on the software development end. Well, in the 14th year of my professional career, right, I got this opportunity to work with a multinational telecom, as you mentioned, Telenor, as a pre-sales solution architect. There, I spent 3 years and expert my abilities to deliver complete software products to the client. Um, Interestingly, I left Telenor after 3 years within the desire, like, to work with international clients. That's why I jumped to the largest software services company in Pakistan, that is Systems Limited. And these days, I'm working with Systems Limited as a senior managing consultant and handling large clients for them. So that's like, a high level about my career journey.
A lot of interesting experience. I noticed you had it wasn't just it was truly a unique career because a lot of the tech professionals that I've at least encountered, usually you have a linear trajectory when within one aspect of the you could say the value chain and or the entire organizational structure within and then a company. And so you're a developer, then you become a senior developer, and then maybe you stay at that role or you gain some more seniority within that role. But what I found interesting was that you had client facing roles, but then you also had pre-sales roles, which has a sales and marketing function that you also learned. And then you also had an experience with the startup, where you're literally building from the ground up, right? So it's immersive in that it's not a development shop. It's you have to focus on this product for that
Yeah,
entire term
exactly.
of your job. So which of the I guess first question would be, which of these experiences do you feel had a more significant impact on you, whether professionally, within kind of habit development, whatever it was, which you feel was notable?
Well, of course, as I stated in the introduction part, Telenor, who is the largest telecom service provider in Pakistan, where I worked as a pre-sales architect, gave me this opportunity to augment my professional persona. I would say to a next level, right? Starting from the soft skill to better planning and communication, and how to deal with the customers, and how to, make your own stuff ready according to what is the expectations. TP was actually the place where I realized a new professional inside me. So I would call, like, Telenor Pakistan was the experience that gave me a complete new dimension to my professional career.
So you would say that the soft skills that it developed were the biggest impact? Is that just to clarify?
Yes, of course.
Or
Like, for developers like us, like, who are technically sound, but uh, are 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 lacking in a way that they don't know how to communicate with the client, or how to handle, like, the overall teams. So that's one missing piece I always used to speak to my juniors, and I'm when I am in the mentor shoes, like, I always used to say to them, like, that you need to work on the soft skills part along with your technical abilities. So yes, it is an important aspect.
is there something that you think, those junior developers, or is there anything that you can think of, like a practical step that maybe you have advised in your career to some of those junior developers on how to develop those soft skills? Like, is there anything that you think could be done?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Like, um, as I always used to mention, like, that learning technical stuff is like quite easy these days. We have a lots of things available over the internet, but uh, how to learn the soft skills, how to do the communication, how to engage with the customer, These are the abilities that the juniors need to strongly work on. Just because we are in the era where we are directly working with the clients, and most of the clients are from the abroad. So for them, working on that part of the skill is very important, and they should be working on that part as well.
Okay, makes sense. I think there's a cliche to kind of internationally in terms of, oh, if you're in the tech sector, if you're a tech professional, you don't have social skills, you're just typing all day. Where I
Yeah.
think it's good that you're showing that importance, or you're emphasizing that importance, that as a tech professional, you need to balance yourself and have that communication skills to articulate to important people or other people what you're doing or why you're doing it
Yeah,
and your
exactly.
goals.
That's the case. Like, and in the post-COVID phenomena, like, what is happening around, as I mentioned, that the customers are now directly working with the developers. Like, so communication skills and the soft skills are very important. That at least in my community, people need to work on that, and it should be taken on the war footings, I think so.
Interesting fact you brought up. So so would you say that before COVID, there was less direct interaction with the developers by the clients, and how did that change? Like, or why? What? Who was the intermediary previously? Was it someone
Yeah.
else or?
Actually, there is a history involved. Like, pre-COVID, there was a situation when there were, like, companies who were providing the services, like, as I mentioned, System Limited, the way they provide services. So whenever a customer engaged with at a company like that, the company used to provide um interfaces. As I mentioned, that I used to get this experience a lot. So the interfaces are used to get the requirements from the customer and deliver it to the developers, right? During the COVID phenomena, like, when everyone was working from home, this new kind of work has emerged, where uh, you know everyone was working from home, and this was the first time the customers were directly engaged with the developers. In fact, most of the companies offered remote jobs. And
Pakistani developers, are you tired of constantly switching jobs or working on boring websites and WordPress plugins? Do you want to leave a legacy, something that you are proud to contribute to? I have good news for you. Codecast Pakistan is sponsored by Shadow Labs, and Shadow Labs is currently hiring. Shadow Labs is an award-winning tech startup formed in 2010. Shadow Labs is on track to disrupt the global legal industry. The best part is that Shadow Labs has its roots in Pakistan. Shadow Labs is the next Pakistani success story. It's like joining Kareem before it was Kareem. Shadow Labs has strong development and operations teams based out of Pakistan, and we are currently looking for developers across Pakistan. So if you are an HTML developer, Laravel developer, or full stack developer, listen here. We are hiring across senior and mid-level roles. We also provide different hiring options, including full-time and flexible part-time roles. If you want to build something that you're proud of, this is the place for you. If you want to be part of Pakistan's next biggest tech company, this is the place for you. Click the link below and fill out the form, and join the legal technology revolution and contribute to Pakistan's next biggest tech startup. Leave your legacy.
and
We lost you for a second. So you were saying after COVID, the customer facing uh, experience or part of the process increased. So please go ahead, continue.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that, like, gives the opportunity to for the developers to work directly with the customer on the low cost projects. And that brings up a new situation where the developers were not, you know very proficient in the communication part, and they were getting the lack of that soft skills. And that's the reason, I after that, I have this suggestion to my juniors, that you need to work on the soft skills part along with the technical capabilities that you are in progress of developing. And people always work on the technical part mostly, but this is a phenomena that is happening after the COVID scenario.
Makes sense, and I think um, what is interesting is what at least I found when we were through remote work and I guess the traditional, I guess what I was saying earlier, the traditional developer personality type, that the conception or the idea that people have of not being as social, and then the understanding of communication for that type of a mindset is that it's limited towards just identifying information and then just giving it to the person.
Yeah,
When
exactly.
I like how you keep describing it as something broader within the as communication skills being beyond that, where it's how do you understand whether the person understood this information, or if you need to convince them of certain information, or if they're convincing you of certain information. There is that area that's not completely rationally defined. It's more there's emotion involved, I guess, is the best way to
Yeah.
put it, right? So
Yeah, exactly. If I put another example, like, I used to be a software developer or was having very limited, soft skills and communication skills. Like, so I got some training, in Telenor, against the soft skills, and the trainers mentioned that, like, there is an ice breaking part in each and every meeting. And whenever there is a client in front of you, and you even ask them how's the weather at your end, this gives a lots of, like, the opportunity to break the ice between the client and you, and you will be able to, easily handle that client. So so, like, most of the developers, they are introvert personalities. They don't like to speak. They want to stick with the discussion or the agenda. And that's something, that makes most of the clients, uneasy, that, they are casual. They want to discuss the requirements in a very casual manner, and that brings the gap. That's why, I always used to ask the developers to uplift their soft skills and communication abilities.
very well said. And just to actually add on that too, I think what's often forgotten is that you're building a relationship, right? So there is
Yeah,
there's a breaking of you're breaking the ice, so you're making the person comfortable. But when they're
yeah,
comfortable, then they're also willing to communicate with you more than they otherwise would have. So if they're not happy with
exactly.
something, they're not going to complain to your boss, right? They'll say, "Okay, fix this," and then you fix it, and then
Yeah, yeah,
everybody's happy, right? So
yeah. That's another part, definitely.
So, what would in your personal success in your career? So, which characteristics would you say contributed the most? Was it those soft skills, or was this something else that you feel was contributed the most to your success?
Yeah, I would be on a bit higher level in response to this. Like, what I believe is the consistency. Actually, it is the key element in the overall success. And interestingly, in the technology world, it is actually the consistency to learn and adopt the change that are happening around all the time. I remember when I started my professional career, the W3 school was not even launched, and the concept of web applications were not around. But look, today all the applications are based on web technology somewhat. So to be successful in the tech world, everyone should be consistent learner, and that is, something where the technology learning and the soft skills learning both getting part
Hmm.
of it.
Makes sense. So those tools are important, the tech and the soft skills, but it's what you how you embody that, I guess, in consistently improving those skills, which
Yeah,
ultimately leads to success. Makes sense.
exactly.
So now, if you let's say if you had to start your career again, personally, now you see young Naeem coming to you saying, "What should I do?" What advice would you give yourself? How would you do anything differently? And if so, what would that be?
Okay, so I always give this advice to newcomers to be part of the organization where you get, you know they need to be part of that type of organization where they get good mentorship. Yeah, not only with the technical stuff, as it's mostly available, as I mentioned, over the internet these days. Rather, the development of your professional abilities, including your soft skills, your communication, and the way the overall organization, we call, like, this is a term we call the organizational culture, right? So if Naeem comes to me as a younger Naeem and asks me to start his career, I would ask him to begin his career with the large enterprises instead of a startup. So this is a suggestion for the juniors to, like, uh, make yourself part of the bigger pond instead of a smaller one, so you'll get a chance to work with the experienced guys, and you will be able to learn a lots of other things other than the technological stuff.
Okay, and I like your answer had two layers that I think were very relevant too. So you're saying in the ideal circumstance, obviously, big company with experienced developers and learn from those developers. But if you're unable to maybe get a job at that big company, the principle still is find those experienced developers, right? And get
Yeah,
mentorship from them. Is that what you're saying?
exactly, this is what my idea is.
Okay. So mentorship is key. And that's why I think the whole idea behind Codecast as well and building a community revolves around that too. So I like that you brought that up too. It's learning from other people's success and their failures and what they've gone through. So you don't have to repeat
Yeah,
those
exactly.
things and you're able to benefit from them. So
Exactly.
now if I guess it relates, I mean, if you have a different answer, I wanted to kind of um take another step back. So there's an individual that's starting their career, meaning they maybe just graduated from their undergraduate studies and they're looking to get their first job and see what and understand what to do. But now maybe there's someone that's looking to enter the tech industry. They're thinking it could be a number of scenarios. You can take the answer wherever angle that you want to take it. It could be someone who's in another kind of career and they're looking to transition, or it's someone that's just looking, okay, I want to break into the tech industry. I don't know what to do. Do you have any
Yeah,
particular advice?
yeah. uh, you know this is something very important. Like, most of the juniors that are coming into the tech industry, they have, like, an education degree beyond that, right? So if you ask them why you did software engineering or computer sciences, they will give you a response like, my elder cousin was working in a software firm, and he advised me to do a computer science degree. It has, like, most relevant jobs. Someone will say, like, one of my uncle advised me to my father that this is a very good degree. uh, in my understanding, like, the identification of your own talent, who you actually are, what do you want, is the first step, right? And if you know that you have the talent to work in the tech industry, the second part is the upskilling of yourself, right? Most of the time, the juniors that comes to you, they are not able to figure out about their capability until they do a job for 2 to 3 years. And interestingly, after doing 2 to 3 years of job, if you ask them, how are you feeling in this job, and they are really frustrated, right? And when you come to know that actually what they have, what they are capable of, they are not doing that. And if you tell them, like, you need to take a u-turn and make yourself up to the level and get into the other job where you can utilize your capability, they give you an answer. It's like, I was able to get this job very hardly. I don't want to leave this. Like, I just want to stick with it. And you understand after 5 6 years that they have to leave their job and do some family business. So my suggestion would be, think it over, upskill yourself, and follow your passion. This is very important, and it applies not only on the tech part, rather on the every area where most of the Pakistani talent is, like, I would say, compromising their talent just because they don't know what they are capable of. And and they, if they understand, like, what their actual capability and talent is, like, they can be the most, like, proficient in their own domain, including the tech industry as well.
Makes sense. So self awareness is key. So understanding
Yeah,
yourself in a way that allows you to figure out what you will excel at or what you are excelling at, which I think is
exactly.
is is a unique insight in that a common advice. While it's still good advice, but this is a good insight into that advice is usually you're told you're doing something, stick to it, stick to it, stick to it, and then eventually you'll get it, right? So, but if you take a more of a self-aware approach, then on the one hand, maybe you do realize that okay, this is not something that I have the capacity to do, and I need to switch careers. Or you're taking an honest look at yourself, and then you're thinking, okay, I don't have the capacity, but maybe I need to figure out how to build that capacity. instead of thinking
Yeah.
that if I just keep watching YouTube videos, I'll get better at at developing, right? So it's taking a more nuanced approach, which I think is very good advice in terms
Yeah.
of career building and skill building. Now, I wanted to focus a little more on the Pakistani tech industry generally.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you think right now there are the biggest challenges for the Pakistani tech industry? Where do you think the biggest areas of improvement are?
Yeah. So, it's quite unfortunate that development is a modern day labor, especially in Pakistan. I can say like it could be all over the world, but I don't know, about the rest of the world. But specifically in Pakistan, this is how it is. Companies only look for expert to sell them to offshore customer, and when the requirements are over, the companies do not own them, and the developer must switch. Right? They have to find another job. So instead of upskilling their abilities and learning about new stuff, they are mostly looking for other jobs. If you look into the turnover rate, an average organization turnover rate is like not exceeding a year. So on the average, every employee is leaving after 1 year. That's a huge challenge. Not many organizations work on the growth of the developers and enhancement of their technical and soft skills, which are the primary parameter to growth in my understanding, right? And this is the biggest challenge. If you know the the organizations sit in a single room and make a collective strategy, just because there are, let's suppose, 1000 developers available in the market. Organization A grab from organization B, organization B grab developer from organization C, and this how the circle goes on. So if they create a comprehensive strategy to retain the developers for longer period, I would say at least 3 to 5 years, then it is going to make a lot of sense. And currently this is a huge challenge. Organizations are completely disconnected and pulling developers from each other. So what happens? Organization A gets a project where they need a special abilities. They grab an employee from organization B who is going to just close the same project with the same technologies, and the developer are making themselves ready to fly away just because they know the organization will not be able to support them after the completion of that project. And this is how the things are circling around. So after good 7 8 years, when a developer spend their energies in software industry, they are expert to a special domain, but they are not able to lead the projects, or they don't have the ability to communicate with the customer and work in a different way to the projects. So that challenge come across when the developers are 7 8 years of experience. In that case, they have to lay themselves down, and they start making a specialized expertise in the project management part, or somewhere where they can lay off themselves for another good 10 15 years and then leave the organizations or the professional career.
Interesting. A lot of interesting points there. So I want to dissect that answer too, because there's a lot of I think
Yeah.
we can also talk about how um, Western tech hubs try to solve this problem, because I think it's a problem in Western tech hubs as well. So you were saying how about 1 year is the turnover, and then from just kind of the logical consequences of that are likely that developers, like you said, are treating the job as something that they're going to leave. So likely before the project ends, when it's almost done, they're already looking for a new job, right? Because they know my
Yeah.
time is coming up, and the company is treating them as disposable because they're thinking, I'm hiring you for this term and then you're gone. So the relationship from both sides is broken, right? It's not, I don't trust you, you don't trust me. So
Yeah.
how do we go move forward together? um, but it's difficult because then on the other end, what you said earlier, the lack of communication skills, relationship building skills, then leads to an inability to build those relationships, to overcome that for both parties, perhaps, to say, okay, let's stick together. Maybe we can find you a better role within the company, and maybe the developer themselves thinks, okay, maybe I can benefit, like you're saying, by learning from this
Yeah.
company. So before I get to the
Yeah.
question,
Exactly.
so this is how the Western tech hubs solve this problem, or one of the tools. They what they'll do is they'll have deferred bonuses. So you have a bonus that vests over several years, that you're earning in 1 year, but you'll get in year three from now. So if
Yeah.
you stay with us for 3 years, but then the company has to want to keep them. In your circumstance, you're saying the company does not want to keep them, right? And then the
Yeah,
second thing is
exactly.
equity. And in that circumstance, it has to be a startup where you're a product company. A company like Systems Limited, it doesn't make sense. If I was running the System Limited, I would not give them equity either, right? Because it doesn't make sense
Yeah,
because
exactly.
you're running an organization, and if you give away equity every employee that comes in, there's nothing left, right?
Yeah,
So how do you think from I guess this is a difficult question, I would say, but how do you think, given these constraints that you have majority, I think one of the constraints is that majority of Pakistan's tech organizations are development houses. They're not product companies, so there's nothing
yeah,
to have a long-term loyalty towards, an idea maybe, or the concept of a product that you believe in, right? And
yeah,
then so they're temporary sprints. Do you think there's any changes that can be done, that would align interests and like practical steps that either developers or companies or coming together both can do? And what would those be? How can they align interests?
yeah. So like I had like something which I am currently working on with systems. Um, if you look into the organization part, most of the time, at least 50% of the resources who organization carries, right, they stay on the bench waiting for something new, right? And most of the time, the 15% of the employees leave just because they believe that if they don't have the relevant work, as I mentioned, like they start finding another job for themselves, right? The other part, another challenge for the organization is like if an organization is having expertise in the ERP systems, or another day they have expertise in the data sciences domain, right? They know that both the ARP and the data sciences domain expertise will get over some time, and they have to make expertise in the IoT domain. So they have to prepare themselves for the new challenges that are coming in terms of business to them. So my idea was like while I'm currently working the system to the management, that if these like 15% of the people are free and doing nothing and waiting for another customer and staying on the bench while they are free, they are looking for another job, why not we start working on the some new ideas, like for example the IoT domain that is getting into the industry and we are expecting serious business till 2025. Let's start working on small POCs, right? With these teams, and ask for their like interest, that in which domain they want to enhance their abilities. So first of all, if we do that, we will be able to showcase something to our potential customer in terms of technology, that like we have some expertise, the people working with us, they know something new, and we will be able to bring new business domains to the organization. The second thing is, the people will be busy by learning new stuff and doing product development, right? uh, where in my experience, product development is something like the people own, and they believe like, okay, I am developing something based on my own thoughts and ideas. So they will be feeling more comfortable and feeling, and the feeling would be like to get connected. And the last part is, if a resource is free and working with you to explore a new technology and develop a POC, a small product, a proof of concept towards something, you should provide an equity in that domain to that particular developer or expert. So they will be having this connectivity for a longer term, that okay, I'm going to work with this same organization, and if this idea worked, like I'll be staying with the same organization for longer period. In fact, some people thinks that we need to plan our retirement with some organization, and this could be something that makes them make that happen.
I think those
Yep.
are very good ideas. It's similar to a lot of like a bigger Fortune 500 companies will have their own innovation arm, and then they'll have product owners within in that arm, and then you're allowed to lead innovation using the resources. And it creates loyalty, aligns interests, uses resources that are not being used. I think that would definitely have an impact, and definitely useful and helpful for the industry. A lot of, I guess,
Yep.
there's a lot of there's a long path ahead, but at the same time, I think the industry in Pakistan has a lot of strengths as well, right? So there's
Yep.
there's tons of good things. Systems Limited, as an entity being one of those strengths, right? It's an organization that has seen the success of bringing together so many people under one organization, and then being able to bring in business from companies around the world, which is a significant success on its own. What would you say are some of the strengths of the tech industry in Pakistan?
Yeah. So like we are very talented people, right? um, I believe like the way we handle things, the way we look into the problem in depth, like with a natural talent, like this is something that makes us differentiate. Like I have this working experience of working with like most of the South Asian markets, including India, Bangladesh, and like uh, the north sorry the southern European markets. So I believe like we have a lot of talent, and that's like something where we can um, we can tackle the market in a way that we can produce big products. Unfortunately, like in Pakistani market, we are not able to reach to that type of customers where they want to develop big products or projects. Like most of the customer, they give us projects or product development of at least at max I would say like $1 million, which is something like I would say that okay, we can engage a team of 20 to 50 people on it, and that's it. But for the larger projects we are ready and we can do that, and that is something I think we should work upon to get that somehow and deliver it accordingly.
Okay, makes sense. So we have the talent. It's just a matter of focusing on how to get those bigger projects. Is that what you're
Yeah,
the main point? Okay, makes
exactly,
sense.
that's exactly what I intended to.
Okay, and I guess to round it off, two-part question. So what a leading question, I guess. So what do you think in terms of the benefits of a community? What do you think? How do you think community benefits the tech industry? Is the first part, and the second part is how do you think Pakistan can or the Pakistani tech industry can benefit from community building?
Yep. So, like as I mentioned earlier, that Pakistanis are really really talented. The only challenge uh, is like getting business from the rest of the world due to this national image. So communities can help better showcase our expertise to the outer world and connect us with them. This is something I think that can help us a lot. While answering to the second question, like I would say like the 60% of population in is young in Pakistan, and they are attracted towards the technology education. So with such talent who can learn quickly and perform along with the quantity, we can work on large scale project and generate quality deliveries. This is something we call it our biggest strengths, and we can utilize it in the coming days.
Okay, makes sense. I think we had I've had a lot of questions. I think we went over a lot of very useful kind of insight. Rounded off, actually, I had one more in terms of the tech industry in Pakistan. Just kind of for our viewers' understanding, would you say there's any distinction between the different major hubs? So you spent a lot of time in Islamabad, right? If I'm correct, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a distinction in the tech community in Islamabad compared to Lahore or Karachi or other hubs, or would you say it's kind of similar in many respects?
Yeah, interesting question. Like, it's been more than 18 years now. I'm staying in Islamabad, right? And I truly believe that Islamabad is different from both Karachi and Lahore, both in terms of living and with the tech community. Like, in my understanding, the tech community is not very aggressive in comparison to the other hubs. And they try to focus in staying for along with the organization, keeping in view the long term technical goals in their mind. While like I had this chance to work with the people in Karachi and Lahore teams, like they are more aggressive, like they are more, I would say, passionate to find another job where they can make good money, something like that. That's the
Okay.
difference between like the two hubs. Yeah.
So you would say the Islamabad community is more kind of looking at long term stability within organizations, a lot of professional. Is that what you were
Yeah,
getting at, or?
exactly. I think they are more calm or not aggressive in comparison to the other hubs. Like, they always, in my understanding, they always love to, like, stay within the same organization for a longer period until unless they are having some troubles with either the management or the projects part, as we discussed before.
Okay. Okay, makes sense. That covers my questions. I appreciate your time. I think that you gave a lot of very, very useful insight for our viewers. And thank you. I know you have a busy schedule working with at Systems Limited and your other kind of obligations and responsibilities. And I really appreciate you joining us on Codecast, Naeem.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was a nice talk to you. Take
All right.
care.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining. Make sure you subscribe and stay connected for more content on the Pakistani tech community. Again, our mission here is to build a Pakistani tech community, and it's based on the philosophy that if we work together, we can grow together. Pakistani developers, are you tired of constantly switching jobs or working on boring websites and WordPress plugins? Do you want to leave a legacy, something that you are proud of? I have good news for you. Codecast Pakistan is sponsored by Shadow Labs, and Shadow Labs is currently hiring. Here are 3 reasons why the best developers across Pakistan are working at Shadow Labs. Number 1, Shadow Labs was formed in 2010 and has received numerous tech disruption awards. Our unique partnerships with major Canadian corporations has positioned us for global success. Number 2, Shadow Labs is a product company that is disrupting the legal industry in Canada. Shadow Labs is on track to change legal services globally. And number 3, Shadow Labs is the next Pakistani success story. It is like joining Kareem before it was Kareem. Shadow Labs has strong development and operation teams based out of Pakistan. And there's good news. We are currently looking for developers across Pakistan. Shadow Labs is currently hiring for a few roles, including HTML developers, Laravel developers, and full stack developers. We are hiring across senior and mid-level roles. We also provide different hiring options, including full-time roles and flexible part-time roles. This is not a website or WordPress development job. We are building 3 unique products that will change the world. If you have big dreams and ambitions, this is the place for you. If you want to build something that you are proud of, this is the place for you. If you want to be part of Pakistan's next biggest tech company, this is the place for you. If you are a senior or mid-level HTML developer, Laravel developer, or full stack developer, listen here. Whether you want a full-time job or a flexible part-time job, click the link below and fill out the form. Join the legal technology revolution and contribute to Pakistan's next biggest tech startup. Leave your legacy.